Chris Lynch News with Airpark Canterbury. Trusted parking, backing trusted news.
This bill is about protecting our young people, our young teenagers and our children from online harm. And there's a lot of concern out there when I'm talking to parents about social media and the harms that's causing at the moment, particularly in relation to inappropriate content or cyberbullying and, of course, exploitation. And then, of course, there's concerns around mental health and anxiety and well-being. And this bill is really focused on protecting our young people in this really ever-evolving world of social media, something that we were not exposed to as young children.
Thank goodness for that in some respects. Catherine, was there a defining moment for you when you thought this is something that you have to do?
I think as a mother of 4 young children, I'm living and breathing it at the moment, and I'm talking to parents and teachers and principals regularly, and they're saying to me, look, when are we going to do something about social media? They're really worried about it. They're seeing, the behavioural issues, the negative impact, and I think this was a reason that I brought this bill forward. I've been working on it for over a year now, and it was really good to be able to get it through my National Party caucus and, of course, have the support of the Prime Minister, who is keen to look into it further, explore the operational and logistical ways that we could potentially implement it and possibly look at it as a government bill. But I think today I put it in the ballot this morning. That was a really exciting time to get it to this stage, because I have been working with a lot of parental groups across New Zealand, and the 416s, they're another big advocate for this, and just generally parents, teachers, educators in our community that really want to see us do something about social media and the harm it's causing for our children. And I think as a government, we have to try it.
How would you plan to enforce this law on global platforms that often don't follow local rules?
So this bill really mirrors the Australian legislation that was obviously passed late last year, and of course that's going to be implemented later this year. They've given themselves a year to look at how they can operationally put it in place. And so within the bill, we've got a similar 6-month time frame. But I think this is really about putting the onus on social media companies to ensure that they've got verification measures to make sure that under 16-year-olds aren't using and accessing social media.
So what kind of verification measures do you have in mind to clarify or authenticate who is over 16? What would that look like?
Well, certainly that's something that will be explored in this process, and that's something that Australia is going through at the moment. Of course, there are third-party online apps that, require driver's licenses or passports, etc., to verify age. But that's something that would be put upon the social media companies to ensure that they've got those measures in place. And I know that they're already moving towards that in other jurisdictions around the world because, as you will have seen, there's many countries around the world that are moving to ban social media. Obviously, Australia, there's European countries, the UK has been looking at it. And then just recently, last week, Texas obviously created some legislation to ban for under 18s. So it's certainly really a concern for many countries at the moment. And I suppose for us as parliamentarians, what should we be doing? And I think that today is a real win for families, parents and children across Aotearoa New Zealand, because we need to do more to protect our children from online harm.
How do you think you can measure whether these restrictions actually improve youth well-being and learning outcomes?
Well, I think there's been many surveys, there's been a lot of research done that does connect social media impacts to mental health and well-being, anxiety, and, parents are seeing it on a daily basis. I mean, of course, there's also the addiction measure. We do see that kids become quite addicted to social media. And, earlier in our term, we obviously brought in the cell phone ban in schools. That's been really successful and really popular because kids are now interacting with each other. They aren't having the distractions in the school playgrounds, in this classroom. They're engaging, they're focused on their learning. And this is a natural flow on and a natural step in line with that cell phone ban. And I think teachers already today have been texting me and messaging me and saying, oh, this is a great move. We really need to do something. They're seeing the behavioural impacts from social media, playing out at school. And so if we can get our kids more focused, that's going to be better for education too.
I see the ACT Party doesn't support this bill. With the details on that, I mean, would you even need the support of the ACT Party at this stage anyway when it comes to this?
Well, for me, of course, I'm going to advocate for this to be a government bill. The Prime Minister's already put forth his support for the bill and obviously wants to investigate it further as a government bill. That's up to the obviously other party leaders to put forward their positioning. But no, I will continue my advocacy. I'll continue with working with parents and families across New Zealand to push this issue because, I think it's really important that we're having these discussions, that we're raising awareness and that we understand the impact and the negative impact that social media is having on our children.
Well, so much of the youth crime that we've been experiencing in Christchurch is now filmed for fame reasons and plastered all over, social media, and the majority of these people are well under the age of 16.
That's right. And I think we are seeing, a lot of content being shared, being put out there by young people that they may not necessarily understand the consequences and ramifications of that content. And so this is an attempt and a measure to obviously protect our young people because, their brains and maturity are not as developed, when you are under 16. And I mean, you kind of look at ourselves as adults and we find it often hard enough to be able to manage ourselves on social media and I suppose the addiction and the constant content coming at you. Imagine the children being able to handle that. And of course, we understand that there's got to be some kind of parental responsibility as well in terms of what your children are seeing online. But I think that parents need more support. They need more support in this area and more support against the harmful content that's coming at our kids from social media.
Nothing worse than doom scrolling late at night time, that's for sure. Catherine Weed, good to speak with you. Thanks so much for your time tonight.
Thank you, Chris.